How's it going, boys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bryce Doomer. I'll be your host today, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 Packers that I'm going to be watching as we approach week 1 of this regular season. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I post Packers and Brewers content throughout the week, and it's the perfect time to get involved because we have 2 teams that are looking pretty exciting right now. The Brewers being a legitimate World Series contender, and obviously should be another really exciting season for this Packers team coming right around the corner. So without further ado, let's get into my top 5 Packer players entering into week 1. Coming in at number 5, we have Lucas Van Ness. And I feel like if I was making this video last year, I probably would have LVN on my list last year too. There were some pretty big expectations heading into last season for LVN, entering his 3rd year after being selected 13th overall in the 2023 NFL draft by the Packers. I think a lot of fans were expecting last year to finally be his breakout season, but unfortunately we never really got that. Just looking at my notes here, LVN finished last season playing in 9 games, recording only 1.5 sacks. And if you look at his career so far, he had 4 sacks as a rookie, 3 in his second season, and then 1.5 last year. Obviously, injuries play a role, especially last season, but we're entering year 4 for a former 13 overall pick. At some point, we need to see the potential turn to consistent productivity. I think the Packers are going to need it this year, especially with Micah Parsons being out. Micah Parsons out last season. We saw a pretty significant drop off when it comes to productivity from the pass rush. And so obviously we know you can't get constant pressure on the quarterback. It puts much more pressure on the rest of your defense. Unfortunately, we kind of saw the rest of the defense fall apart last year when Micah left with injury. And now with Rashawn Gary having left in this offseason, even though he didn't have the greatest year that we would have hoped for last season, with him leaving, that just leaves even more opportunities on this defensive line for a guy like LVN. With Micah expected to be out the first 5 weeks of the season, we're hoping he comes back week 6. I'm optimistic. I'm shooting for that week 6 return, but that's just going to make LVN's impact even more important in the early part of this season. He's going to have to establish himself into this new defense. I really just am looking to see, is this finally the season where we see LVN break out, the breakout that we have been waiting for as Packers fans. Coming in at number 4, I have Marshawn Lloyd. I think everyone in the Packers organization seems to really believe that this guy possesses so much talent. Unfortunately, the problem with Marshawn Lloyd is not necessarily regarding his performance on the field. It's actually his ability to stay on the field itself. He's had a really unfortunate string of injuries to start his NFL career, and because of that, we still haven't really gotten a chance to see what a healthy Marshawn Lloyd can do over an extended period of time. And that's why I have him at number 4. So far, he's been looking pretty healthy in training camp, and I thought he looked pretty solid in the Packers' first preseason game this last weekend. And then you add in the uncertainty around Josh Jacobs, and Marshawn Lloyd becomes an even more important player to watch in this offseason heading into week 1 in the regular season. My ideal scenario is that Josh Jacobs is playing for, throughout this season, and Marshawn Lloyd is able to really establish himself as just another talented running back to complement him. But for whatever reason, if Jacobs is unfortunately not able to be a part of this roster this year, Lloyd could potentially be taking on a much bigger task for this Green Bay offense. If Jacobs is not able to play for this season because of the controversies that have been surrounding him, I would expect the Packers to bring in another running back. But regardless of what happens, I think Marshawn Lloyd is obviously an extremely talented player, and if he can stay healthy, I think he has a chance to make a pretty big impact on this Packers offense in 2026. Coming in at number 3, I'm very excited who I have in this spot. I've got Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft has it's been a really interesting situation surrounding him, just because he's coming off such a major injury, but he's also coming off such a major season last year. Despite it, I love everything about Tucker Kraft, just who he is as a player. In the interviews, he's always saying the right things, and the production on the field is legit. Prior to tearing his ACL last year, he was starting to actually establish himself as one of the better tight ends in this league. In only 8 games, I wrote down in my notes here, in only 8 games, he had 32 receptions for 489 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaging more than 15 yards per reception, which is pretty ridiculous production. Obviously, you'd love to see the numbers he might be able to put up across the full season. And one of the things that made Kraft so dangerous is what happens after he catches the football. He was one of the NFL's most productive receivers after the catch before his season ended with the injury. So obviously the biggest thing I'm watching with Kraft is simply how quickly he can get back to being the player that he was prior to the injury. But there's another reason why I want him on this list. Like I mentioned before, listening to some of the interviews throughout training camp, I absolutely love the mentality that this guy brings to the team. Even with the contract not being taken care of yet, a lot of people think he's going to get that big contract before the start of the season. But even with that not being taken care of yet, he's still just talking about how dedicated he is to this team and all the guys and how hard they're playing, putting everything out there. So he's physical, he plays hard, and he seems to really love being a Green Bay Packer. I just want to see him healthy again, because if he can pick it up where he left off last season, I think he could be an absolutely massive part of this offense. And coming in at number 2, I have cornerback Brandon Cisse. Arguably one of the hottest storylines coming out of this Packers training camp this year has been involving the cornerback room. There's obviously been a lot of frustration surrounding Keyshawn Nixon, just between his performance and some of the comments he's been making to the media. I think a lot of Packer fans are really frustrated with this situation. Some fans even to the point where they wouldn't mind seeing him move on from the team this year or the team cutting him. But at the same time, one of the reasons that I have a lot of confidence and comfort surrounding this cornerback room, which has been kind of a weakness for this Packers roster in previous years, is what we've been seeing from Brandon Cisse. Cisse was the Packers' 2nd round pick this year and has by far been one of the biggest standouts in training camp. He's been reported to be doing an excellent job in the one-on-one drills, getting opportunities with the first team defense, and he had a pretty impressive first preseason game, which was really encouraging. There's one particular play, if you watch the game against the Steelers, where he just didn't give up on the play, showed really good effort, and ended up stopping what could have been a touchdown. Those are the exact type of things you want to see from a young player. Really just giving it their all, competing, and just even looking at what he's been doing in camp, his ability to stay with the receiver, find the football, make a play on the ball, and do it in a way that's not drawing the type of physicality that might draw a flag. Just exactly what you would want to see from a young corner. Super encouraging camp so far from the rookie. And I don't even think this conversation stops with talking about a rookie and his training camp performance. I think Brandon Cisse actually has a legitimate opportunity to win a starting job at this cornerback position for the team. Whether that maybe even happens early, maybe week 1, but at some point in the season, I think he has a legitimate chance to start at corner. If that happens, Green Bay has found a pretty important piece to the defense in the 2nd round of the draft, and I'm going to be feeling a lot better, especially just knowing how much of a struggle this room has been up until this point. And coming in at number 1, we've got my boy Matthew Golden. I could gush about how much I love this player, probably for the entire video. Golden was the Packers' 1st round selection in the 2025 draft, and I loved it when they made this pick. He's fast. He's a great route runner. He's got amazing hands. He can stretch the field vertically, and I think he's basically everything you would want out of a modern NFL wide receiver. Now, I know some people were disappointed in the lack of production his rookie season. He finished the year with 29 receptions, 361 yards, and he did not score a touchdown until the playoff game against the Bears. And if you just look at the numbers on paper coming out of a first round receiver, obviously they aren't going to blow you away, but I think there's a lot of things that add context to this season. The first one being he only had 44 targets this entire year, or the entire 2025 season. And that's why I don't look at last year as Matthew Golden failing to make the most of his opportunities. I look at it as him simply not having enough opportunities. When the Packers actually put the ball in his direction, I thought he made the most of it. I don't remember seeing him drop many passes. I felt like he became a very dependable option when Jordan Love needed him the most, especially in important situations like on third downs. And consistent hands has not exactly been a strength of this Packers receiving room over the last couple seasons. So having a receiver where I actually trust that when the ball comes his way, he's going to catch it, that is extremely exciting for me to see. I think Matthew Golden went way under the radar last season just because the volume of targets was not there. Going into year 2, I think it's going to change big time. I expect him to get more opportunities. I expect him to become a much bigger part of the offense. And I think by the end of the season, he's going to remind a lot of people why the Packers used a first round pick on him in the first place. Out of everybody on this list, Matthew Golden is the guy that I'm most excited to watch heading into week 1. So those are my top 5 Packers to watch heading into week 1. We've got at number 5, Lucas Van Ness, Marshawn Lloyd coming at number 4. Tucker Kraft at 3, Brandon Cisse at 2, and my boy Matthew Golden coming in at number 1. But now I want to hear from you guys. Leave it down in the comments below. Who is your number 1 Packers player that you are going to be watching heading into the start of this NFL season? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I got plenty more Packers Brewers content coming throughout the season. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching, Wisco Boys, and I will see you in the next video.